You're just as strong as I remember.
Not really. It was tough to keep the assassins at bay. But now, we can finally talk, can't we?
As I'm sure it was for many of you, as you watch more and more anime and you read manga and you read light novels and you read a lot of these kinds of stories, you can kind of piece together what could potentially happen. And this episode, the moment that Rose singled out Alesia and decided to get specific information from her, my first thought was that Rose could potentially be, you know, orchestrating something behind the scenes. The other thing that kind of solidified that was during the story that she was sharing with Alesia as they were sharing back and forth banter about Beryl. Now, don't get me wrong. I do think Rose really does love Beryl. I don't know if it's romantic love, but she definitely does love Beryl. I don't think that any of that is in question whatsoever. But she was only there 5 or 6 years ago. So based on the story, Beryl's around 44, 45. So she was there, you know, right when he was turning 39, 40, something like that. So she got the older version of him, which is still very charming and alluring and blah, 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 blah. So immediately I was like, okay, she is playing for the wrong field. That is even more solidified by later on in the episode, Beryl's talking to the vice commander of wherever Rose, the Night Order or whatever they're from, the Church Order, whatever it is. And he's talking about the fact that the former vice commander was the person that attacked him, and he recognized him, and he was like, leave him to me kind of thing. And the moment I was like, that's so weird that somebody so intimate with their former team would be part of the attackers. And I was like, does that mean Rose? Now, I kind of put that in the back of my head. I was like, yeah, you know, it could be, could not be. You know, I could just be overthinking, you know, like, you know, thinking 2 steps ahead. Well, by the end of the episode, after Beryl, you know, kind of barrels through all the enemies, he finally ends up with him versus Rose. And he, you know, he kind of, I feel like he pieced it together too. He's like, yep. He's like, here we are. And she's like, yep, here we are. And based on everything that I've seen so far, you know, obviously Beryl's a really good teacher. I think he's going to try and save her. You know, he is very affectionate and he loves his students quite a bit. So I understand he's definitely going to try and get the why behind Rose is doing what she's doing. And I can't see him killing her. Now, I do think he has the ability to. And I believe, you know, Rose understands that he has the ability to. I don't think that Rose herself thinks she's better than her teacher. And that's where the interesting part will come into play next week as we, and I think next week is the last episode, right? That's going to be the interesting thing as we get to next week's episode is, does Rose think that she could beat Beryl? And she must, right? Because she wouldn't have this showdown at the end of the episode be happening if she didn't. But, you know, is what it is. But anyways, I think Beryl's going to end up saving her somehow. Will she have to face the music? Will he allow her to get away? Will he allow her to return back to her team and be like, oh, I found Rose? And I don't know how he'll play it off, but I do think that he'll save her. I would be surprised. I'd be remiss if he didn't. Now, for the rest of the episode, I think where Beryl pieced it together was his conversation with Lucy, kind of like put things together. I love the moment that he spent with Miwi this episode, you know, them cooking dinner and stuff. I think it's always just cute to see them together. The princess and prince stuff was fine. No problem there. Rose and Alesia sharing their stories I thought was really cute. It kind of shows different versions of Beryl. Originally, when they showed Rose training with Beryl, I thought there was a really young version of him. I guess that was not the case. He was still old already, or older. He was already basically a very similar age to where he is now. And I guess the last thing I'll say is I was really impressed. This episode is the first episode that I've actually been impressed. I know a lot of you feel a lot of different way about the 3D animation. A lot of you in the comments have said like, hey, the 3D fight scene that they had with Beryl, most of you agreed that like his face looked funky, but the fight actually was really good. I didn't think so. I thought the 3D animation was really daunting to me. I felt like it didn't really fit. I was like, in my head, I'm like, why couldn't they just have continued to animate it? And I thought it was ugly. I didn't think the 3D looked good. I thought the fight scene was a little poo poo. I wasn't as high as a lot of you guys were, and that's okay. You know, just differs of opinion, right? But this episode, I was legitimately and thoroughly impressed. I thought this was the first fight that I was like, this episode really, if finally, I've been begging, you know, because they keep depicting Beryl as this like sword, you know, unknowing sword master of like, you know, Mr. Breathing Technique, you know, Mr. Demon Slayer over here, and his fights just haven't felt that. But this was the first episode that, because he was getting like he had to handle this onslaught of multitude of assassins and arrows coming from everywhere. This was the first episode, like, holy shit, like, okay, yeah, this finally showed his skill. He was able to and get all the arrows and be killing the assassins, you know, very seamlessly by using his breathing techniques and stuff. And then ultimately was able to get through all the assassins to make his way to Rose. So this is the first episode that I felt like, okay, this finally showed off his level of skill and mastery, as opposed to the other fights, like the Griffin fight, and some of the other ones. I was like, I guess if you could see it that he's skilled, but like I didn't really see it and feel it. This was the first one I was like, okay, him handling like, you know, 50 assassins and being bombarded by arrows, like, yeah, that's some pretty deep shit, you know? So this is the first episode I was like, okay, yeah, I could really see and feel his skill. So definitely high praise for that. So I think this was probably one of the better episodes of the season. Probably 7 out of 10. You know, 7.5 out of 10. I thought this was a really good episode. I was really into the episode, and yeah, it kept my attention, and yeah, no real complaints. So I think this was a really solid episode. Probably top 3 episodes of Old Country Bumpkin of the season, which sucks on the reciprocal end. It sucks because, as a lot of anime do, they end up not getting good till right when it's about to end, and then it's like, okay. The good news, though, for a lot of you guys, I've already told you guys, I'm not going to be back for season 2. Like, this show's done me a little dirty, and overall, I'm still putting this in my disappointment bag, not my impressed, oh my god, this was such a good experience bag. This is still going in my disappointed pile. I won't be back for season 2, but for some of you that will, it's good that it's getting good towards the end, because that means I can continue on into season 2. Probably not. I'll probably let us down too in season 2, but hey, it's okay. All right, I'll see you guys next week as we end the season of Old Country Bumpkin. Have a good weekend, my friends. Hit the like button too. Peace.